I understand armor mods are a huge thing in build crafting. I get that. I understand that. I use armor mods too, but the builds in this video are not going to have any armor mods deal with them at all. Except for one, because the game gives it to you for free, so why not use it? Heads up everybody, my name is SentinelGray, and welcome to class. For those of you wondering why the builds in this video won't be involving armor mods, it's because I try to help all types of Destiny players, from people who have been playing the game for years and have everything unlocked, to new and returning players that don't know what elemental wells or charged with light actually means. This video is meant for the latter, since today I'll be showcasing off builds for each class that can be added to or tweaked to fit somebody's playstyle. And if those tweaks or additions happen to be armor mods, then so be it. But with Void 3.0, I know it's probably a real curveball for those of you that either didn't know this update was happening or just don't know what's good or what you're looking at. I have a build for each Void 3.0 subclass that should be able to work extremely well for you, and all you need is a few pieces of gear and access to all of the Void fragments and grenades. If you don't happen to have all of the Void fragments and grenades, go over to Icor in the tower where she will sell all those different things for you so that you can add even more customization to your Void builds. The pieces of gear you're going to want are 3 separate exotics, one for each class, which I will go over shortly, and a Void primary that you love to use. Void primary being, you know, the white ammo weapon, like a hand cannon, auto rifle, pulse rifle, scout rifle, like anything that has unlimited ammo, that's a primary weapon. Not the thing in your first slot, not the thing on top. That's not a primary. I could go over a whole entire thing, I'm not going to. Make sure you have a primary. The exotics that are going to be used are going to be of the kind that can drop randomly for you instead of you having to do a particular endgame activity for. Yes, these builds might be better for those armor pieces that are locked behind legend or master content, but those aren't nearly as accessible to all players. And if you need a refresh on any of the Void subclass stuff, I do have a guide here on my channel that goes over everything that was launched with the new rework. With all those prefaces out of the way, let's talk about the builds. For Titans, we have a build that'll focus on crowd control and keeping you alive. The exotic you're going to want is the Heart of Inmost Light chest piece, which empowers 2 of your 3 abilities whenever you use your 3rd. Empowering means melees and grenades deal more damage and your barricade has more health. This also decreases the cooldown times of the other 2 abilities as well. You're also going to want to use the Harmonic Siphon armor mod on your helmet so that whenever you get multi-kills with your Void primary weapon, you produce orbs of power. And like I said, this armor mod specifically is given to everybody for free. You have it unlocked no matter what, so you don't have to go farming for it. Don't worry, just check on your helmets. For the subclass itself, you're going to be using the Titan aspects of Controlled Demolition and Bastion. Controlled Demolition gives the debuff Volatile to enemies that were damaged with your Void abilities. Once these enemies with Volatile take enough damage or die, they explode, dealing Void ability damage. You can essentially get this effect to chain for an extremely long time if you have a long line of enemies coming at you, or if there's a whole crowd of enemies that you need to destroy. A bonus effect to this is that the Void explosions caused by Volatile will actually heal you and nearby allies because of this aspect. Bastion, on the other hand, will grant you and nearby allies an overshield that constantly regenerates if you are standing behind your barricade ability. So once you cast your barricade, everybody gets an overshield, and then if it takes some damage, all you have to do is dip back behind the barricade in order for it to regen. The fragments you'll need are Echo of Provisions, Starvation, and Remnants. Provisions will give you melee energy whenever you damage enemies with your grenades. Starvation will grant you Devour whenever you pick up an Orb of Power. And Remnants will increase the duration of grenades that have lingering effects, like a Void Wall grenade. Speaking of a Void Wall grenade, you will want to use a Void Wall grenade for this build since it lingers, doesn't do usually enough damage to kill, and also has the fastest cooldown of all the Void grenades. How's this going to work in combat though? Well, your exotic, the Heart of Inmost Light, has a big part to play here. You're basically going to want to cycle through all 3 of your abilities, your melee, grenade, and barricade, all while you're in the middle of combat to capitalize on everything and to keep your ability uptime high. So doing all of this, plus getting kills with your void weapon, creating orbs of power, picking up those orbs of power, having Devour activated, all of it synergizes together. It all gives you grenade energy, it gives you melee energy on the void wall hits. The void wall applies volatile to anything that happens to touch it. And because the void wall grenade lasts longer, it spreads to more targets. Like, there's a lot that goes into this build. But the general idea of it is to keep your uptime on all three of your abilities, your melee, grenade, and barricade. This is a build I use all of the time when running any sort of raids or master content. It's fairly easy to work with, and it's not only defensive, but offensive as well. For warlocks, you guys are hungry. So very hungry. This build will focus on Devour and keeping it going for as long as possible and having it active basically on demand. The exotic you'll want is the Nezarec Sin Helmet, which will help your ability cooldowns with every void damage kill. The wording on that is very specific. Void damage kill. That means that void weapons also factor into this, which is why I say you'll want to use these void primary weapons for all of these builds. Make sure you do the same with the Titan because, you know, Harmonic Siphon, it'll make those orbs of power, it'll get the Devour effect, all that. Make sure you run a void primary. For your aspects, you will want Child of the Old Gods and Feed the Void. Child of the Old Gods will create a void soul that goes off and attaches itself to an enemy when you shoot at them. This void soul then weakens and deals damage to them as they are caught in the void soul's area. To pair with this thing, I use the Healing Rift. Not so that I can heal myself, but because whenever you use your Void Soul with a Healing Rift, the targets that are drained grant you both melee and grenade energy, which helps with your ability uptime. Feed the Void is very simple on the other hand, and literally what it does is any Void ability kill grants Devour. And I mean all of them. Grenades, supers, melees, and even your little Void Soul buddy. He gets a kill, you get Devour. Your fragments for this will be the Echoes of Exchange, Expulsion, Provision, and Remnants. Remnants and Provision I already went over on the Titan, but Echo of Exchange grants you grenade energy for your melee kills, and since the Void Log's melee applies volatile, that's extremely easy. And Echo of Expulsion makes it so that anything that dies to a void ability explodes, which isn't nearly as effective as making everything volatile, but it works almost as well. I'm not gonna bullshit you here. This build, just as it is an absolute powerhouse. And for as long as you keep on killing, you have full health and grenades to throw thanks to Devour. The majority of the fragments that are used in this build are basically there to help you out in case you lose Devour or there's like a lull in combat so that you can then start your killing power up again. Just like the Titan build I used, this is the thing that I use all the time whenever I play my Warlock. I even used this build during the day one Vow the Disciple raid. Finally, Hunters, you guys will be extremely helpful to any teammates who are either taking a whole bunch of damage, creating a whole bunch of aggro, or if you need to get a teammate's res for any of the harder than normal activities. That's right, you're going full invisibility. The exotic you'll want to use is Graviton Forfeit, which will not only increase how long you're invisible for, but while you're invisible, your melee charges faster, your weapons reload faster, and your recovery is increased. Make sure to put the Harmonic Siphon on this helmet too while you wear it and pair it with any good Void primary you have. The aspects you're going to want to use are Vanishing Step and Trapper's Ambush. Vanishing Step is a super simple aspect that just turns you invisible whenever you use either one of your dodge abilities. Trapper's Ambush, however, gives you an ability similar to the Revenant Shatter Dive called Quickfall. When activating Quickfall, you spend your melee charge to dive to the ground and create a smoke screen around you. Allies caught in the smoke screen are granted invisibility, while enemies are weakened and take more damage. This aspect allows your regular snare bomb melees to stick to surfaces and turn you and your allies invisible as well if either one of you or anybody's caught in the activation. Your fragments will be Echo of Starvation, Provision, and Obscurity. Starvation and Provision I've already previously gone over, but Obscurity is very handy for this build. Echo of Obscurity grants you invisibility after you perform a finisher. Because this build works how it does, there is rarely ever going to be a time where you cannot go invis whenever you use this. You're either going to be able to use it through your dodge, through a finisher, through your snare bomb melee ability, through your quick fall. You are always, almost always, going to be able to go invis so that you can either debuff targets, support your allies by rezzing them, or carry objectives, anything like that. This is an extremely good support build for any hunter wanting to play support. As a suggestion, there is an exotic chess piece for the hunter that does a bit different and arguably better job than Graviton Forfeit does for this build. If you happen to run any Legend or Master Lost sectors, you could get the chance to drop the exotic Omni Oculus, which adds a little bit more synergy to the build and also gives you damage resistance while you're invis. I'm going to be honest, normally I'm not a fan of using the same sort of element when playing. However, the new light subclasses seem to reward you for leaning into that type of playstyle. But I will admit that these builds work amazingly well as they are. But if you need to change them up to suit your playstyle, feel free. All I wanted to do was give you a foundation to build off of, so feel free to go wild, and if you make any new builds with Void 3.0, you are more than welcome to put them down in the comments below. I want to end this by asking you a question. How do you feel about Void 3.0, and how do you think it compares to Stasis? Do you think one is better than the other? Do you think they're both pretty even? Let me know when you think down in the comments below. Maybe I'll do a comparison video once all of the light 3.0 subclasses are out. But thank you guys for coming to class. I do appreciate it. I will see you all next time. And remember, keep your heads up and be kind to each other. Bye now.